Hello, I'm Congressman Jonathan Jackson, Illinois' 1st Congressional District. Back to you this week with Congressman Cleo Fields, my dear colleague from Louisiana's 6th Congressional District, and the incomparable civil rights attorney, Ms. Barbara Arnwine. Thank you so much, Ms. Barbara.
It's my pleasure.
Appreciate your service. Let's get caught up on this week. We were anticipating, Congressman Fields, the decision from the United States Supreme Court on Louisiana versus Calais. In some ways, we are relieved that a decision was not made, so our maps get to stay in place. You want to give us an update on what we can anticipate?
Yeah, there was some thought that the Supreme Court did issue rulings today, and no one knows what they're going to rule about. We know that that case is one of the cases they have in under advisement, so that ruling can come any day. Barbara and I, we differ in terms of the ruling of the court. Barbara feels that we may lose, and she's, rightfully so, being very pessimistic. I'm taking a very optimistic view. I just can't see how the court rules against the second the second and the 6th Congressional District in Louisiana. And I guess I'm more optimistic because I was there.
Yes.
I chaired the committee when we created the district, and we basically built a record. And for the Supreme Court, to rule that the district is unconstitutional, they will have to do some real serious gymnastics on previous decisions they've already made. So, I'm cautiously optimistic, Congressman. But that doesn't mean that they won't. I've seen the Supreme Court do stranger things, but I do think that the facts are on our side, the law is on our side, and they got to really go out of their way to say that Louisiana, the creation of that district was for race purpose. Was the predominant factor was race. It was
well, politics. Let me ask Ms. Barbara. Part of her justification on what she believes in why is that all things being true, everything that you said, we absolutely agree with. But it went through the state Senate. It's got the support of your governor. It's got the support of a supermajority. All those other good things. Yet the Supreme Court found a way to pick this case up. Yet they did not make a decision on it last spring, and they asked to rehear it again. That's unusual. Yet they are taking on a lot of voting rights cases, from birthright citizenship to the case today was Boost.
The Boss versus
the Boss.
Illinois.
And could you explain that case? And then we'll
Yes.
conclude back with why we are thinking of this Louisiana case as being on thin ice. We remain hopefully optimistic, but there's a reason why it gives us a pit in our stomach.
Yes, and thank you. And, we don't disagree on the fact that the law is on our side.
Right.
We don't disagree that the fact that the facts are on our side, and that we don't disagree that for the Supreme Court to rule contrary to, the interests of the people in Louisiana, to find that somehow that this was a illegal, unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, that would be bizarre jurisprudence, that they would literally have to betray their own traditions, their own findings over 60 plus years under the Voting Rights Act. So we don't disagree with that. Where we disagree is what they're likely to do. And because I think
improbable, as illogical.
that they're capable of doing damage. Today, the Boss versus Illinois case, which is one of the first election-oriented rulings that they've had this year, this term, is that they actually held that Congressman Bost could sue the state of
Bost of Illinois.
Bost of Illinois could sue the state of Illinois for the way that it counts mail-in ballots. And people are like, what? It was a standing case. And interestingly, Justice Kagan concurred in the majority decision. It was a 7-2 decision. And she concurred in it with Justice Barrett in a joint concurrence. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sotomayor wrote a scathing dissent, actually twice the length the opinion itself, the majority opinion, saying that this did not make sense and that it was a bad ruling. So so we know the court's weird. To me, the worst opinion that they've issued in a number of years is the opinion that they did, written by Kavanaugh last fall during this same term, where they held that ICE could use racial profiling. Right. Now, who would have thought, given how careful they've been over these years about law enforcement not engaging in racial profiling, that they would suddenly just twist the law so dramatically?
But my thoughts, Barbara, Jonathan, hear me through on this. The Supreme Court can't have its cake and eat it too. I mean, they just can't do that. Because they're a group of, they say non-African Americans, white plaintiffs who brought the lawsuit. All right, and what they're saying is their 14th Amendment rights have been violated.
Their equal protection.
By the creation of the seat. So let's say the Supreme Court, just for argument purposes, ruled that they're right. Then black voters wouldn't have the same right to go into court and say, my rights have been violated because I'm in a majority white district. This is a racial gerrymander. I just think it never stops. It never ends. And I think the Supreme Court has to put an end to it. And I think the reason why they're taking as much time as they're taking is because they really don't know how to put an end to it. But they have to. And I don't think they're going to just open it back up, because black voters will have the right to go to court tomorrow, and say my rights have been violated because it's a racial gerrymander. They put me in a majority white district. I don't think the Supreme Court want to get into that. I just think they're boxed, and I think they're going to rule that the district is constitutional. They may twinkle, they may say, but then even that would be, a stretch. They may say you got to draw it another way, but that's left up to the legislature. That record is clear. That district was drawn the way it's drawn because of politics. A white U.S. Congresswoman, they did not want to disturb her district.
That's correct.
And two of the most powerful men in this House, the Speaker of the House,
yes,
and the Majority Leader,
yes,
they didn't want to disturb their
Come
district.
from Louisiana.
And so
yes,
we're going to create the second black district. We're going to put it wherever we can put it, but we're not going to disturb those 3 seats. And look, the Supreme Court is now faced with that. And they brought the lawsuit saying that their rights were violated because of the 14th Amendment, an amendment that was created, largely because of black people.
Well, hold on. So let's pivot, if you can. Let's go to the other end of the Mississippi River. We're going to leave Louisiana and go to Minnesota, up to Minneapolis.
Yes.
Okay. And we've been, since we were together, we've seen the tragic events that have happened in Minnesota, and Miss Renee Good being, I would like to say, executed. She was shot 3 times at really point blank range. And from the 47 seconds of video footage that we have to ask ourselves the question, how did a mother, a wife that was dropping off her 6-year-old child, have interaction with the immigration enforcement agency? What does she have to do with the immigration agency? And why are these armed officers hanging out near an elementary school? I'd like to hear your thoughts, Barbara.
Well, ICE, the first question for me when I saw the video, which was heartbreaking, was why is ICE engaging with her in the first place?
Yes.
Because if, in fact, they felt there was a traffic violation, that she was, quote, blocking, their way or whatever, that is fundamentally police work. That's not ICE work. That's police to deal with trafficking and, traffic issues within the city jurisdiction. So what are they doing in the first place, taking primary lead on this? They should have called the local police, said, we feel that she is blocking. But if you watch the video, I don't know if you've seen the video from inside her car, you will see that she's actually telling people who are driving by, she's waving them around. and people are doing it with no problems. So the issue is, why did they feel that her actions that she was taking were so dangerous? When at the most it was inconvenient, and at the least they really should not have been exercising that jurisdiction, and in such a hostile way. And what I really felt bad for her, when we're in fear, what do? It's fight or flight, right? And people, she was clearly discombobulated. She was not there for an argument, for a battle. She said, what? I'm not mad at you, man. Dude, or whatever she said. And she was not trying to, I think she literally was trying to just leave. Because she was, of the mindset, I haven't done anything criminal. I have not committed a crime.
Pose no threat.
Right, I pose no threat. Why are they trying to detain me? Let me just get out of here, away from this situation, because they're hollering at me and I feel threatened. And I think that's all she did.
He was trying to open her door. An officer would not have done that.
Right, and hollering and screaming. I mean, it was just dangerous. And I do understand how she ended up trying to flee that situation. And if you look at the video, there's no denying that she turned her wheels. There's just no denying.
Yeah, no question about it. Listen, this is not the first time law enforcement officers have been faced with situations like this. In fact, he was trained. Should have been.
He was a trainer of other officers.
That's the bizarre thing.
To deal with situations like this. Jonathan, you and I, months ago, I think back in September, it may have been August, we sent letters to Secretary Null. I mean, we didn't talk to each other about it, but I found out you sent the same letter I sent, questioning why is it that we got, en masse federal law enforcement officers. Why are we allowing that? Somebody's going to get hurt. That was my letter to her. That was your letter to her. Someone will get hurt if we keep operating in this draconian way. And she sent back, well, my officers have been threatened and they have a right to not identify themselves because they have had so many threats. Absolutely asinine.
Right.
Listen, the day it happened, moments after it happened, she and the president, took to national media and said, we're defending this officer. He did nothing wrong, and we're going to open up an investigation. Now, what's so inconsistent about it? That is so inconsistent. He did nothing wrong, but we're going to open up an investigation. They have already declared that the officer, who is trained to stand in front of a vehicle? No officer.
After he walked around the car.
No one.
Not in Mississippi,
No one.
not in Louisiana,
No one.
and certainly not in Illinois.
A 20-year professional.
You just don't do that. I mean, this guy did not follow just basic procedures.
Right.
And he put himself in harm's way. And he should have been trained to deal with instances like that. At the very least, let's have a non-biased investigation. And that's where you include that state and the local police departments. But they've refused to do that.
And worse, right? Because I don't know if you've seen the video of the car being pulled away from the scene. The car that she was driving.
Have not.
Oh, it's horrible. The video shows the car on the back of a tow truck, and the windows are wide open. The there's no of the covering that you normally put around a vehicle to preserve the evidence. Nothing. Yeah. And they're driving it out of state apparently. So how does that make any sense? If you're going to have a real investigation, meaning that you got to look inside that car, you got to see where things are positioned, you got to really look at how the shooting took place, the doggy in the back, all of the realities. And so it was shocking to just see how unsecured they are in trying to do this investigation, cutting out as you pointed out, the local officials.
Well, in this world of body cameras and
Yes.
4K, 5K, HD recordings. The good news is it's recorded.
Yes.
It's recorded from Ring cameras,
Yes.
from multiple phones, from multiple
Yes.
angles. So we've seen the top angle, the side angle, the around angle. We've seen a simulated artificial intelligence angle. And now we have to deal with the lying angle. Okay, that's the only thing that we're here to discuss, because the evidence is clear
Yes.
that she posed no harm,
Right.
no threat, and once again, she was a mother, a wife, a poet, a peaceful, loving person. They've tried to tarnish her, besmirch her, tarnish her character, which they cannot do, and they denied her medical attention so that way she could also bleed out. And I stand in astonishment. How did her airbag become a body bag? How did this woman dropping off her child
Yes.
end up having an interaction with the immigration, customs, enforcement agencies? This is the 10th largest policing or military force in the entire world, and now they're roaming our streets and killing American citizens. How did American citizens have an interaction with immigration?
And let's not forget what he says at the end of the shooting. He calls her an effing B.
An expletive female dog.
Right.
To me, it's no different
I mean,
than what's taking place in Iran. You know, total unrest.
right.
And for the President of the United States of America to stand and say, if you keep treating the people the way you're treating them, we're going to come in and you're not going to like it. But you're treating the people in America
Right.
the
Citizens.
same way.
Right.
When you put, these renegade cops, federal officers on the streets, and they feel that they are entitled. You do what I say, and you do it right now. And if you don't, you're going to there'll be some dire consequences. And you just take away, you silence people's right to protest. And it not only hurt, people, it does hurt us nationally, no question about it. But people fail to look at how it hurts us on the international
Absolutely.
stage. It takes away our moral high ground.
Yes.
And it's just, and this Congress, we're going to be voting on, budgets. This Congress needs to stand up.
Yes.
Well, and let me tell you, if I could put a pin in that, you talk about how it affects us on the international stage. Currently, there are 75 countries around the world that have been denied access to visas in America. He continues to increase it. We saw the CIA trained agent that came in from Washington State and killed 2 National Guards persons
Yes.
right here in Washington,
Yes.
D.C. He served the United States
Yes.
in Afghanistan, was relocated to the United States, drove across the country, ambushed, killed 2 U.S. service members. We remember them, and that was tragic. They should be at home, and but he was, something has gone awry. Second thing is, and then the president immediately put visa restrictions on 10 more African countries. Africa had nothing to do with an Afghan citizen that did this. Now, cumulatively, there are 75 countries, and I tell you, they're black and brown countries. And when you talk about on the international stage, we have the FIFA Cup, the World Soccer is coming to the United States. Now people are canceling their tickets, canceling their visas, saying they don't feel safe coming to the United States of America. So we're beginning to continue to isolate ourselves on the world stage. I know some people are like, I don't care about international affairs, America first. Well, America's first was meaning we were viewed as having the most credibility, that we had ideals that we were trying to uphold and live up to. We hadn't quite gotten there. But now it seems like the world has gotten turned inside out. What's your thought on that, Barbara? I mean, I don't even know if President Maduro from Venezuela has a visa to be in the United States of America. That was a sitting president of a sovereign nation that got kidnapped. It wasn't extradited.
You know.
And he got brought to the United States against his will. We haven't seen that in over 100 years.
This administration is just determined to violate every international law and to violate our U.S. Constitution. I want to make sure that we say one name today, in addition to Renee Good, that we say the name of Keith Porter. Keith Porter is a black man, shot to death by an ICE off-duty agent, because right as this year turned into the new year, the Keith Porter was doing what my dad and all my uncles do.
Keith Porter in Minnesota.
No, but Keith Porter is in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Northridge. And he is doing what my dad and all my uncles would do. When it's New Year turns, they shoot a gun up into the air. Sadly, they do it in my neighborhood here in Maryland. They shoot up, they just shoot in the air. It's nothing but a celebration of the New Year. It's a black thing that Texas and people, some from Louisiana do, and it's a thing. And so that's what he had done. He had shot, some shots up in the air, and he was finished. And the ICE agent came out and confronted him. He still had his gun with him, and confronted him and wanted to know why he had shot, what was he doing, and he basically told him it wasn't his business, etc. And he ends up shooting and killing Mr. Porter, who never posed a threat to him. Never. He killed him. And it's heartbreaking to see his daughter on social media crying about her dad and just saying, "Don't forget my dad."
Was the ICE agent arrested?
That not to my knowledge. And this is what's wrong. I mean, I'm hoping that Congress will use your power to do something about this situation.
Yeah. When people ask me the question, like, what's different from 32 years ago when you first served and, to now? And it's hard to explain, but I try to explain to people. The big difference is I've never served in Congress. We always had partisan politics. We always had big debates, your side, my side. We always had Democrats and Republicans in the White House. The biggest difference now is, when I fly back home to Louisiana, I have a sense of emptiness, and when I see a constituent in a grocery store and, they talk about the problems that we have in this country, and then they say, the big question is, what are you doing about it, man? What are you doing about it? And it makes you feel empty, You and I, we are members of the United States Congress, and we're in a minority, but everybody expects us to make a difference, a change.
Yes.
Don't let this man destroy this country. And I'm beginning to feel a little bit better because though we're in the minority, a few of Republicans are coming over.
Yes.
And they're realizing that we got to save this country.
Yes.
And it's not about Democrat versus Republican. It's more about what's right versus what's wrong. And that empty feeling is a tough feeling, man. And I know you feel it.
So your hope is coming from something rather incredible that's happened. 3 discharge petitions have been passed, meaning minority-led legislation won the majority of the membership of the Congress.
Amazing.
How unusual is that?
Amazing.
In your terms in Congress?
Well, I mean, back in the day, we would never vote, on procedure issues against our party leader, but it was always for substantive reasons. It was like, just don't do that because that's not, we lose control. But now people are leaving because they go back, just like you and I go back home. Republicans go back home and they're hearing the same thing.
Yes.
They're hearing, listen, I don't like, people didn't buy into immigration officers being masked. People didn't buy into that. People didn't buy into them being all powerful and do what they want to do when they want to do it and not be held accountable for it. people didn't buy into the tariffs, you know? I mean, people just didn't. And I think people are saying, you know, look, it's one thing to be conservative, and it's another thing to be liberal, if you want to use those terms. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we all got to stand for what's right, you know? There's no such thing as a Republican right and a Democratic right. Right is right, you know, and people see it. And that's why you're seeing, I mean, I got a glimmer of hope. That's why you're seeing, you know, Democrats and Republicans, you know, locking arms and working together,
Yes.
because this guy is just unhinged, man. He's just unhinged.
Right.
And totally out of control. And we have to bring some stability to this country.
Well, let me tell you, I want to say thank you. And I'm going to ask that if you would give us the last word
Oh, thank you.
before we reconvene next week. Attorney Barbara Arnwine.
Well, I'm so glad we're doing this. And a word of thanks to every person in this country and internationally, but every person in this country who took to the streets after the slaying of Renee Good.
But you know, there's one last thing. I've got to get a word from you this week.
Yes.
We're into the Reverend Martin Luther King
Yes.
holy season.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your thoughts. Congressman Fields, please grace me. Barbara, your thoughts, message we want to give out to our people for Reverend Martin Luther King.
Don't let the day pass you by. Don't make it a shopping day. Don't make it a sleeping day. Make it a day in which you really look at his ideals, what he stood for, what he fought for on the economic front in particular. Think about what King would say now. What would King do if he saw the health care being stripped from millions of people? What would King do if he saw the wrongful racial profiling, the slaughter of people? You know, don't forget ICE. 32 people died in 2025 in ICE custody. People don't know about that. There's a story behind every one of those deaths. So I just want people to really think, what would King say? Because he talked about militarism. What would he say about Venezuela? What would he say about Greenland?
I got you. Congressman Fields?
Yes.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I owe, you know, particularly political, you know, all my political attributes, you know, as do you, as do all of us, to Dr. Martin Luther King and the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yes.
You know, and we, you know, I firmly stand on their shoulders.
Oh, yes.
You know, I can't express enough how appreciative I am for Dr. King. I mean, every birthday, you know, I celebrate it.
Yes.
And I celebrate it, you know, with a sense, you know, I don't, look,
Amen.
I've never been bit by a dog. I've never been hosed with water. You know, I've never had to drink from a water fountain that said COVID only, you know. They had to go through those things, you know, and so I'm just thankful and blessed today, you know, that there was a Dr. Martin Luther King
Thank you.
and a Jesse Jackson, and thank God for both
Amen.
of them.
Well, and I want to say thank God for my father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and thank God for the life, the living, the legacy, the foundation of Reverend Martin Luther King, a man who had his brains blown out, assassinated. He did not give his life. His life was taken from us at a young, tender age, had 4 children, had been arrested 29 times, stabbed in the chest, house firebombed, but he had a faith in God, and he kept going forward. And he believed in a better, brighter day in America, a more humane world. And I would tell you, don't let the politicians fool you. This is not about a day of service. This is about an opportunity to rededicate your life to service.
Yes.
Reverend Martin Luther King had a life of service. And until next week, thank you so much.